Hey guys, so I'm here with cricket journalist Tom Sizeland. So Tom, we're going to discuss a little bit about the series. We're going to discuss the series as a whole. I mean, yesterday South Africa, they were outplayed by India and by their bowlers, and I was quite shocked by that because of the Newlands test. We completely dominated them on a bouncy track there. I mean, this pitch, spoke about, he wanted a bouncy, pacey wicket, and India's bowlers stepped up, eh?
Yeah, well, India beat the Proteas at their own game a little bit,
Yeah.
and at one point the Proteas were in a fantastic position. I mean, Dean Elgar and Hashim Amla saw off the conditions brilliantly yesterday morning, and obviously Elgar was fantastic the night before. He got a bit battered, got hit on the head a couple of times, and he fought well. But in the end, the Indian bowlers just had the last say. I think Mohammad Shami is a fantastic bowler, and it was interesting to see how late they brought him on in the day, but they were obviously just saving him as a lethal weapon towards the end there and just cleaned up the tail.
Yeah, I was trying to dissect what went wrong yesterday. I mean, 124 for one. We looked on top of the game. I mean, it should have been an easy. We had a day still to go. We had to just tap it out, tap around, tap the ball around the field, get singles, doubles, a few boundaries. I thought it should have been quite easy. I mean, what do you think went wrong with the Proteas' batting attack?
Well, I think some of the dismissals were India's doing rather than our own doing. I mean, AB de Villiers went to an excellent ball, and it's unfortunate that Quinton de Kock's such out of form because, I mean, the ball that he received was also brilliant. I mean, smacking him on the pads and the way the ball moved off the surface, you can't do too much about that. And it almost felt like it was just a matter of time. I mean, I said earlier, Amla and Olga were brilliant to last as long as they did. But a day 4 pitch, the way things were throughout the 3 days previously, it looked like it was going to be a bowler's wicket, and India eventually just showed that.
Yeah, we could see, especially with that delivery to Faf du Plessis, the way that ball swung in and deviated in. I mean, knocked out his stumps. Couldn't read it. I mean, even with Dean Elgar, I think it was with that blow to his head. I think it was more of a misread ball than a good bouncer. What do you think?
Well, I think actually one of the dismissals that stands out was actually Philander's. Because you should never be pulling on that wicket the way things were going. You either need to, just defend or play the poor deliveries. So that was the only real dismissal that was probably South Africa's own doing. Otherwise, there's a lot of talk about India's fast bowlers not being up to scratch at this level. When they play at home, they're obviously unbeatable, and their spinners are normally the ones that do the talking. But actually, India's set of fast bowlers at the moment is some of the best I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, Sharma, Kumar and Shami, they all average about 32 or 30 with the ball, which for Indian bowlers is the equivalent to averaging 23 or 24 on this part of the world. So
I was very impressed with the Indian bowling attack, especially the way they kept up with South Africa in South African conditions. I mean, with Vernon Philander getting 15 wickets at the end of the series and Shami getting the same. I mean, it was quite amazing to see them keep up and actually fight South Africa at their own game and beat South Africa at their own game. I mean, as a whole as the series, though, I think it was a good win for South Africa. It was a battle. We dominated with the ball majority of the time, and it was whoever's going to grit it out with the bat would have won any of these 3 games. 72 runs and Newlands, 135 at Centurion in India conditions, they would say.
Well, it's an interesting stat actually at the Wanderers. India have never lost.
Yeah.
I think in 4 or 5 occasions, which is pretty amazing. But I think South Africa really wanted to make a point. They had a point to prove against India, especially after losing so badly in India back in 2015.
Yeah.
I think South Africa wanted to show that India aren't necessarily themselves away from home. And maybe that number 1 ranking is a little bit inflated because of the amount of matches they play at home and the matches that they win at home. But what it has done, India winning that game, means that South Africa probably can't get the number 1 ranking for quite some time.
So, yes.
But I think South Africa should still be very happy. I know Kohli has said that this is a win that they're going to cherish for a long time. But at the end of the day, South Africa have won the series 2-1, and I still think that's job well done against the number 1 side in the world.
Yeah, especially with South Africa, they tour quite well. So, I mean, we can be proud of ourselves of the way we perform in the test team. So, there's something that I would like to speak about, and that is, I want to get your views because I know you've done a little bit of pace bowling in your lifetime, and I know you've always been a fan of good fast bowlers. But Otis Gibson to decide to go with a 4-man seam attack and to go with 6 batsmen and a spinner in some of the games, and now in the previous test match at the Wanderers, he decided he's going to go with 5. Do you like this attacking mindset that he has and he's brought to the game? I mean, South Africa, from my point of view, in previous times, we've kind of been saved with the extra bowler with having Jacques Kallis that could bowl and bat brilliantly. So that kind of saved us with an extra bowler. But this is specialized bowlers. This is specialist bowlers that he's picked specifically to bowl and bat. There's hardly any all-rounders necessarily with Vin Philander. You could say he's kind of an all-rounder. He backs himself as a number 7. But what do you think?
Well, I think Faf also had quite a big role to play in that. He's been quite vocal about the fact that he prepares the pitches himself, or he gives the instructions for the pitches.
Yeah.
And he almost just overshot the mark a bit. So he wanted a pace bowler's wicket. So then they picked their team according to that. So I think that's fair game, and India did the same. You know, they also had 5 fast bowlers, no spinners. I'd love to know when the last time India fielded an 11 without a spinner, but that was pretty amazing to see. But I think we could see from the scores that that ploy of using 5 fast bowlers was justified. I mean, both first innings were under 200, and I thought the bowlers, I thought they bowled brilliantly. And I think Philander batting at 7 is maybe one position too high, but I like the template of having an all-rounder at number 7 for South Africa. I think Philander has justified that he's probably one of the best number 7s at the moment. He has scored runs, so he's deserving of that place for the time being. But the most important thing is that they've got that template now. They've got Quinton de Kock coming in at 6, and it allows an all-rounder to come in at 7. So I know a lot of people were a bit aggrieved that Chris Morris didn't come in at number 7. But at least it's there for that to happen. So Pechlakwayo being picked at number 8, I mean, he's done nothing wrong in his start to his Test career. He's been taking wickets every time he's gone out to bowl. So I think with having Philander and Pechlakwayo at 7 and 8, with the potential for someone like Chris Morris or another all-rounder that's up and coming to come into the side, I think looks a lot better than having a long tail with the bowlers starting at number 8. I think that's a good setup going forward. As for the spinners, I think Maharaj is still very much part of the plan, and he's going to come straight back into the Test team. But for those bowler-friendly, for those seam-friendly pitches, the selection was definitely justified in that regard.
Yeah, and I'm quite happy with blooding new blood. I'm seeing Lungi Ngidi. We saw 20-year-olds, 20 years. I'm a huge fan of Lungi and Kagiso Rabada, and as well as Pechlakwayo. I mean, that's 3 youngsters coming in. But there's always a question mark. Well, so for some people it's a question mark with a little bit of an exclamation mark around Dale Steyn. Dale Steyn, if he's fit for Australia, is it no-brainer? Does he start? I think yes, but I want to hear what your opinion is.
Yeah, it's a really tough one because I mean, Ngidi now is the future along with Rabada. You know, he's been brilliant coming into the side, and it'll be very difficult to drop him from here. But it's a welcome selection headache to have. You know, if Steyn does come back and is fit, I mean, he would have been perfect for this Wanderers Test. You know, just that sort of skiddy and moving off the surface, he would have been the perfect bowler to have. But at the same time, you've got Rabada, Philander, and Morkel and Ngidi. You know, that's brilliant enough. So I'd say if Steyn is fully fit, he'll definitely be in that Australia squad. But then who they go with is difficult to say. I think I would like to think that it's probably between Morkel and Steyn, although it would be tough to drop Morkel. Obviously, he's got the bounce and the height. Exactly. So they could go with Steyn instead of Ngidi, just because Steyn's got the experience. He knows how to take wickets against Australia. It'll be harsh on Ngidi, but at the same time, Ngidi's only played a handful of first-class matches himself. It wouldn't be too bad a thing if he went back and got some more first-class match experience under his belt and then came back an even better bowler than he already is.
Cool. And obviously, the batting in this series, it's been averaged apart from Kohli getting that 150. I want to actually know what's going on with our batting lineup. Is it because of Otis Gibson? Do you think it's because he's focusing more on our bowlers than he is on our batting? For me, I like the partnership of Aiden Markram and Alga. I mean, I think they're a perfect combination. If they're both on form, they'll be amazing for the Proteas. They'll take a lot of pressure off the number 3 of Amla, of Faf, of AB. Of Quinton as well. I mean, Quinton is under pressure at the moment, but he's been so many times, like Faf said in the press conference, he's an X-factor player. And he's a type of player that needs to play with confidence. And once he gets that confidence back, he's going to be almost unstoppable. But I think he needs a little bit of time before Australia. But I mean, how do South Africa's bowlers get that confidence back? Especially Markram, how does he recover from this Wanderers Test?
Yeah, which, as I said before, I think the template is there for a solid top 6, and I think South Africa do have a solid top 6. going into the series with Markram, Elgar, Amla, AB, Faf and de Kock, I think that is the top 6 that the Proteas should have going forward. And I think obviously we forget that South Africa is still in a bit of a transition phase. I mean, Otis Gibson is still, this was his first proper series, no disrespect to Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, but this was his first real test, and the same for the backroom staff as well. I mean, Dale Benkenstein is now the batting coach, so he needs time to settle in as well. But I mean, there were hints of brilliance throughout the series from all of the top 6, to be fair. I think Markram was excellent in, I think it was the first test or the Centurion test, he was brilliant. And you know, it's such a challenge to play against India. You know, he's only played 3 or 4 tests, so I think he's definitely he's got his place solidified for the foreseeable future, I hope, because he's a massive talent. Obviously Elgar he's just been brilliant. I mean, that was one of the greatest knocks I've seen at the Wanderers, the way he just batted the whole day, I think. And you know, if you look at other sides around the world like England and Australia who are struggling to nail down an opening pair, especially England, having someone like Elgar, a constant, who is averaging 40 as an opener in Test cricket, which is all you need, I think they don't have any real concerns there. I think the only concern form-wise, obviously, is probably Quinton de Kock, but he's gone through this before, and he's come back even stronger for it. So I don't think his place in the team should be certain, but I think he should be given a longer run than people might be suggesting.
Yeah, and white ball cricket can't come sooner for him. I think he can get a few good knocks in the ODIs and maybe get his form back again. So that's the main points that I really wanted to speak about. But you know, there was a big controversial topic, and that was the pitch. And Faf spoke about it. He said he wanted a wicket with pace and bounce, not grass. So there's a fine line between that. When you're speaking to a groundsman, how do you portray that to the groundsman to let him understand? Like, it's not necessarily a grassy wicket that helps with pace and bounce.
Well, I think they were saying that maybe Faf had a bit too much of a say in how the pitch was going to be prepared. But I mean, that's what they had to deal with in the end, and obviously it was very controversial on day 3, and you had to sort of feel for both sides in a way, because India batted the whole day on that pitch, but then the way Elgar was batted towards the end, debatable as to whether it was genuinely dangerous. I think, you know, it's one of the biggest talking points to come out of the test, whether that ball really was a short pitch ball, and if Elgar just played the wrong shot going into it. I think that ball lifted a bit more than it would have normally, but I still think Elgar played the wrong shot there. But having said that, I mean, Elgar's come out last night, you know, he said that the match should have been abandoned. He even went as far as to say that there could have been a Phil Hughes incident.
Exactly.
So it's debatable, but credit to South Africa for sticking it through. You know, it makes them look a lot better as a cricketing nation, that they've stuck it out, and even though India won, it looks good that South Africa just did that, because obviously their backs were against the wall when the controversy happened. So that would have been the real talking point. But you could say it on the other side as well. India were in a winning position, so they also just wanted to carry on playing. So it's a tough one. I'm just glad that we got to see a whole day's cricket in the end, and we don't have to reflect on it too much.
Yeah, cool. So thank you guys. That's our wrap of the entire test series. Hope you guys liked it. Send your comments in the comment section below, and like and share, guys, please. Thanks.